All right, well, I'm going to begin anyways, either way. Everybody, hey, welcome to today's Cogitate webinar for the month. We thank you for attending, and hopefully you will walk away with at least some information today that's new and exciting for you. With no further ado, we are going to be talking today about updates, the PFA Works time card, and an ACH mechanism in the payables section. Just as as we do every time, the next webinar will be July 1st at 10 a.m. And again, updates and things that are going to be going on. So we had updates, and even though we didn't really have updates, so we're going to talk about something a little bit different for that today. Then we will be giving a little bit of talk about what's going to happen with the PFA Works time card. And then the minimum Microsoft SQL Server upgrade update, that's going to be coming here as well. And then a little bit of how to use ACH with the payables today and what's going to happen in the near future with that. So updates. First, we have some new employees. So we've been spending a lot of time getting the new employees trained. They started on 5/6 of last month. So they've been here now for their first almost whole month. So why don't I introduce those right now? The first person I'm going to talk to about is Colin. Colin is an intern. He's smarter than anything you've ever wanted to see under the sun. So I'm lucky to have him for 3 months, but I want to get with that. And then I'm going to be introducing Zane, who's a full-time employee, and he'll be replacing Luke, who has moved on to a big accounting job for a big firm. So Luke has moved on from Cogitate, but we do have Zane, who is replacing him, who is also super smart. Both of them have wonderful ability to take directions and do things that they need to be able to do. So Zane, say hi.
Hello.
So that's Zane, and then Colin.
Hello.
Colin is there too. So they're both excited to be working in this environment for actually money. And other than that, I can't say enough nice things about them because, boy, they really have done a good job this last month getting us to where we wanted to be. So that gets me into what it is we were doing this last whole month. Instead of getting updates out, we were doing a lot of work. We were doing a lot of work behind the scenes. A lot of our source code was lacking a lot of best practices. Microsoft has released another round of changes that software developers should be doing to their code base. So we decided, or I decided, that while we had the week of you guys were at the road commission meeting, we decided that week, while it was lighter on the number of phone calls we get, to spend that time to get and start getting all our code back up to the latest practices. But of course, like any time you modify code, the next step is to test and fix all of the issues that the latest best practices do to code. So that's what we're currently doing. We are testing everything from the top to the bottom. And we are working out all the last things that we find. And then hopefully when it gets released, there'll be minimal amount of pieces that do not operate as they used to, if you would. You won't see a whole lot of visual change. It'll mostly just be changes to the underlying beneath the stuff, but it still needs to be done. We need to stay up to date with the current state of practices for development and writing software, because the farther when you fall behind like we did, it does become quite an energetic. It takes a lot of energy to get it all up to date. But Kylan and Zane have both been paramount in getting these changes implemented in the code and modifying code up to this point. So they've done a great job, and I haven't been more pleased. So that leads us on to this we're going to be doing a full test of the newer PFA screens. What I meant by newer PFA screens is just, the main menu. When we go into it, you know the difference between kind of our legacy screens and our newer screen. So again, in there, we'll be doing a full test of the newer screens, running them over and over and again with different scenarios and clicking every possible button and every possible option, in them to make sure that they should work. It doesn't mean that we won't have some issues that we'll come across with your set of data, because everybody's data is a little bit different and code has to react sometimes different to that. And there may be a piece or two that's out of step, but that release will be another probably 2 to 3 weeks before we pull that out, before we will be putting that out. With that release, though, there's some other pieces that I'll be talking about that are coming onto your desktops. Okay, PFA Works time card. Why am I talking about that? We've stopped support for that 2 years ago, and we're coming up to the is it the third year or the second year? Can't remember. I think it's the second year in October. But I wanted to talk about some of the things that we've done in our menu systems. One is we renamed the import and permissions buttons to the word legacy. So in payroll, if I go there real quick, in payroll, you will see legacy time card permissions, and then you'll see time card permissions. This is the newer one. This would be the MyWorks now. And this is the older one. Same thing with the imports. You'll have the import legacy time cards, which is the older one, and this is the new MyWorks. I didn't really like having the word MyWorks in there, so I decided to kind of flip-flop it. These will eventually be going, just so you understand, we did that rename, and that's going to be coming at some point when we do the release for you guys. Also, we're going to have a final end of life date set for the PFA Works time card, and that's going to be 12/1 of 2024. So December 1st, we'll be putting out a release that will no longer have the import or the permissions for the old. Just so everybody is on speed, we need to, that needs to kind of go away for us to be able to do things that don't break that PFA Works time card. We really have bent ourselves around as much as we could to keep from the, still allowing the old system to run and be able to put time cards in. But we're coming to a point where that is becoming a little bit more difficult for us. And we feel like it's now been end of life. We've had 3 years or, at least 2 years of support for it after its end of life. And, we just have to have a final end date. Again, we do have the MyWorks system that's out there that's up to date. We're fully supporting that, of course. And that's where we're heading into the future with the external time card system. Is there anything in on chat coming in, Paul?
Yep, we do have a question.
All right, what do we got as a question?
From Stephanie. We have been doing the new MyWorks. However, we have not done the convert time cards. Do we need to do that?
If you are completely done with the old, then yes, you would want to run the convert time cards one time. We did make convert time cards able to run multiple times. So it's not just a one and done, but pretty much we ask that most places just take the one, because there will be some cleanup. There will be time, because we bring over all the time cards that were approved and they may not have been imported in the old. So certain pieces there'll be a little bit of a cleanup when you're done with that. The other convert from the multiple time cards, sometimes there's an issue with an account number that may have been retired, things like that sometimes gets mixed in there. So it's not a perfect situation, but we will help you all throughout the steps of doing that convert when it is time, when you're ready to kind of do it. For the most part, it only takes about maybe under a minute to completely do it. The time cards are still out there in the old system. They won't be dropped from your database until probably well into the 2025, 2026 years before we drop the tables that were in the old one, for the data. But we will make sure that, at least a conversion has been ran before we do such a thing. and so that everybody makes sure they still have their old data as well. Minimum SQL Server version. What in the heck am I talking about? We rely on Microsoft SQL Server as the backbone of the database manipulation and the database management on ProFund accounting. Some of you have purchased an actual licensed version of the SQL of Microsoft SQL. Others are still using the what's called SQL Express, which is a free version for if you have less than 5 people. With the time card, though, it's important to realize that that free version is going to have some performance issues when you start dealing with the time card people all signing in at the same time. Whereas the purchase version would not have that same performance limitation. But again, they still both function. It's not like it breaks it. It's not like it won't work. It's just going to be a little slower on some of the pieces. So we do recommend that if you're a larger road commission and you can do that, that you get an actual licensed version of SQL Server. There's a lot of reasons for it. It does make things a lot smoother running, and a lot of things do get quite a bit faster because you are able to take advantage of your server hardware. So what's going to happen coming up is we are going to be requiring we will have a warning that's going to show up if you're not up to date. The versions of SQL that Microsoft is supporting right now is 2019 and 2022. So we're hoping most people will get to 2022, but the warning will show up starting now on this next release, and will stay there until 12/1 of 2024. And at that point, if you're not up to speed by then, it will not run. The software will just stop. Mainly because there's just so many things that we're trying to get implemented by the first of the 2020. That, you know, and if you're kind of getting the idea, everything is 12/1 of 2024 because we're hoping to release some very significant pieces of software at that point, which is going to require a later version of SQL Server to operate smoothly. Prior versions don't have the support for it, and so we're trying to get everybody at least to stay up to date with the software parts that is required for our product to run smoothly. And then, of course, it's not going to work. After that update that rolls out on 12/1, if you don't have the SQL version updated by then, again, it'll just stop working. If you get the warning or you get the nag screen, just call us and we can easily get you updated to the free version of the 2020 of the free version. For Microsoft, if that's what you're currently running. If you are a licensed version, make sure you get with your people to get that updated before then. We will help installing and setting up. Just give us a call. That's not a problem. Again, we just want to make sure that everybody is getting a reasonable version so that, like I said, we're trying to take advantage of some of the features that are in the newer versions of the SQL. And we can't do that if, of course, you're running a legacy or older version of SQL.
George, just to clarify, you had said most people are running 2019 and 2022, and you wanted to get us all to 2022.
I would like you to be on 2022, but if you're still on 2019, what we're going to be doing on 12/1 will still work in 2019.
Thank you.
So it's not until Microsoft says, oh, 2019 is no longer supported. We don't even want to. They did that with 2016 now. 2016 is like, no, we don't even know that this thing exists anymore, according to Microsoft. It's only 2019 and 2022. Again, the world keeps moving and things keep getting upgraded. We just got to stay up to date with it in order, mainly just in order to make sure that things continue to run smooth. The problem that I have on this, just so you guys understand, is we don't get we ask the software to do something. We ask SQL to go off and do something, but the way we tell SQL to do it changes from version to version to version. So we have to, we're doing things that are trying to make sure that we have, this version implemented, and we've, gone to what we call the lesser of all the versions. But it's time that we, be able to take advantage of that when we're developing the software, so that we don't end up writing a whole bunch of code that is already available in SQL in our software in order to maintain backward compatibility, if you would. So it just saves us a lot of extra work. I mean, I do got 2 new programmers, and it's very helpful to have them, but we want to be doing new cool things and not spending a lot of time writing legacy components to replace that, because the current version of the SQL, or the version of SQL you're running, doesn't have the new fancy utility or tool that we can use. So all that background stuff is just, I mean, this is a lot of noise for you guys because really you just want the accounting software run, but this is the stuff that we have to deal with. And we've done our best to try to hide it, but there's just times when we have to upgrade and make sure that we stay up to date with what is supported, by Microsoft. All right, so payables, ACH, we're going to move on to that. And what am I talking about there? I'm talking about being able to have vendors paid by an upload file, or vendors paid by the automated clearinghouse is what it stands for. But basically the idea is like direct deposit. There's a file that will get generated and uploaded, and it will make the payments. There's some places that want it, some places that don't, but we'll have the option at this point. So what we can do today is we do have a minimal support now for ACH, and I'm going to cover that and how to work it right now. And then we're going to be working toward adding a full file generation utility, just like we did in direct deposit, for building an ACH file to upload after you do an AP pay. You would go in and run the ACH generator. And just like the other one, you would be able to check on which boxes. It's not done yet, but you get the idea. It'll work very similar to that. It'll generate the file, and then you can upload that file to your bank for that to be able to be supported. We'll be using the same header file for the bank, we're hoping, as well as there might be a separate options for some of the things on an ACH, or for the payables ACH that may be different, but we're going to start with the same and see how that goes. And if we do need to make some special things, we will. But real quick, to work on what we're doing now for ACA, this is mostly what you guys have right now. And if we go into payables and we go to vendors, inside vendors under accounting, we have this is paid electronically flag. And so if you click that on a vendor, then that vendor will not get a check number associated. We're assuming that it's paid electronically. So then when you go to do AP pay, so let's see, this is code 111 for Joe's Bakery, because it was just a test I did before. So we will go ahead and save that. And then I will buzz down here and we'll make a little invoice. So we're going to post an invoice to Joe's 111. Okay, $6. Distribution. Of course, we got to click at it.
All right.
Distribution, we run down distribution, and it's going to be some gravel. Wonderful. Save. Save. Commit. Okay, so we've posted an invoice for 111, so I'm going to go to pay. So I've got 2 different invoices to him, to 111. So I'm going to move everything all the way up to the top because I don't want that. I just really want the 111 and the 111, and let's just do the 129 one of ASCon. So let's say pay. You could do a prepay and generate that, but I'm just going to, for sake of time here, just do a pay. So we did a pay. It's got everybody in it. And then if I go to a payables report and I run an AP laser checks, and we pick today, run. I only have the one check to AIS. If I go next, or last, there's just one check that was generated because the 111 is paid electronically. So then what you would do today is you would just sign into your bank, and most banks like our Chase has a way to pay a vendor directly. So you would set up that vendor in your piece, and then you would just go ahead and pay that. So if we go back to payables report and we do so if we do a check register, we do today's date. Yeah, that shows the electronic funds for Joe's Bakery. So you would go up online and you would key in online the 11173 for Joe's Bakery. So that's kind of how you do it today. Then coming, in the near future, we're going to have a button here that you will click at this level here that will create the ACH file, and it will do that. In order to do that correctly, though, we will need in here in the accounting, their routing number and checking number will need to be routing number and account number will need to be posted for a vendor at this point right here. I don't think we have it on the general page now. Okay. So it'll probably be on the accounting page. We'll have the two. So if you say is paid electronically, then the two new fields will show up that will ask you for the routing number and account number. And that's what we'll use in the ACH file that we generate to send to your bank. Just to let you know that that's coming. We are planning on it. So that'll be, probably, what's today? The 3rd. So the end of the month, we should have all of the background stuff done that we're doing. So hopefully the end of July-ish would be when that would be released, but it may be sooner. Like I said, I've got a lot of people working now, so it isn't just 2 or 3 programmers. It's, we're up to 5 programmers right now that are all keying hard. So should be able to get through a lot of things much quicker than we have been. At least while we have Colin, but still, even then, we're all banging pretty good together right now with getting a lot of this code pieces up to speed. So it's been remarkable how quickly we've gone through things. So stuff is moving a little faster. So hopefully we'll be able to get the AP done, because it's not a lot. There's not really a whole lot that has to go into it. At least we hope. It's always the case. We get into something and then there's 2 other huge, spiked walls we have to cross before we can get to the final finish line that we weren't aware of. But for the most part, it should be straightforward. At least in my mind, it's straightforward. So that's always a good start. Okay, so let's switch back to the PowerPoint. All right, open for questions and answers on anything.
We do have a question on ACH.
Okay.
Will there be 2 options, one for ACH and one for EFT? You still have EFT payments that do not need to be in the ACH upload file.
So what would be an EFT payment that would not be in your ACH upload file?
So an example that we have would be our credit card payments. We use Huntington and they automatically pull that out of our bank account. Okay. So we have EFTs that they automatically pull out, so I don't need it in the ACH upload file.
But what will happen at this point is we don't really have a separate way. We could add something like that. I'll put that in my little noggin when we go to do the implementation. My thought would be is that those charges would also show up on the list of charges that you're going to have a checkbox to specify whether you want that part of the ACH file or not. Just like with them, just like employees, you, even though the employee is a direct deposit, you can still exclude them from the direct deposit file.
George, we basically have the same thing that, like our pension account, our principal, we just key it in there and they pull it out of our bank account.
Okay. So you would want something that is just, this is just an automatic. I guess we would want to be able to specify the difference between this is an ACH payment and this is just an auto draft, is what you're saying. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. So, all right, we will do so. Paul will make note of it and never forget. I will forget by the time we hang up the phone because my brain just is old. No problem.
Now we do have another question.
Yep.
Will there be a memo field that goes with the ACH file that shows invoice numbers? How will the vendor know what the payment is applied to?
Well, when you go in online and do it to your bank, is there anything in your bank that allows you to put a memo in on there? If there is, then we will we will take whatever is on the memo that you specified probably during the time when you did the when we do the AP post. So when I go into payables post, if I bring up my test ACH, we could carry this memo line over. Oh, geez, oh, piece. Okay, stop clicking on that. We can bring over this memo or the description or some factor, but when you have like 3 or 4 payments, it'll be a little bit much. And I don't know if there's a memo on ACH. As I recall, ACH does not really have a memo line in it. So that would be an interesting question. I don't know is the best answer I could give you for that, because right now I don't think ACH does much for indicating that, other than there's a very short description field of 20 characters that's out there. That's all I know. That's just off the top of my head. That's all I know about the ACH upload file. It is a fixed format that banks use. So again, we're trying to, supply that format. So like I said, we can look into trying to do something more for it, but all we can do is say this was a payment made by, the road commission to your vendor. It's really all it is at this point. There really isn't a tie back to invoices or things. You'll have it here. I mean, in our system, you'll be able to see what it is. But as far as the payment for the when they look at their bank statement or something, I don't know if they'll be able to see anything there. But you could ask, Newego has been the one that's been using the, log into their bank and do it for quite a while. So you can, everybody could give a quick call over to there to see how that works with their vendors if they've got other questions. It would be the only difference we're doing here is, for what Newego is currently doing, is we would be adding the fact that we generate a file to upload instead of hand keying in dollar amounts. Do we have any other questions?
Yes, I was gonna actually add to that. Yes, when Newego pays us, there is no invoice number attached to it. It's just the number of the ACH. So I don't know if there's a way you can actually get the invoice number as part of the ACH upload.
But when there's multiple invoices, what do we do then,
Right. I understand that, but we do have another question.
Sure.
Can we add an email readmittance advice for ACH vendors where an automatic email would be sent with the detail?
Oh, that's a fascinating idea. Yes, we can certainly do that. So Paul will put that in his brain and remember that when we go to get the project going.
George, I have another question.
Sure, Lisa.
And it's super basic. I know the answer's probably been discussed a million times. When we do the 1099s at the end of the year, if we have a vendor that has both material and services on it, how are we supposed to, right now, I just send them a 1099 for everything. Do I have to have 2 different vendors and break out the invoices?
That's a hard question, because the 1099 laws have gotten to be a little bit more tricky with the advent of the K and the the newer one that just is gonna be this year. I don't know if I can't remember the number. I think it's the VCH, the 1099 VCH. But anyways, my understanding, and I'm not a tax attorney, I'm not a IRS auditor or anything like that. All I can say is my understanding is that you would have to have two vendors, one to separate the services out from the actual materials. There is a case to be made that if the materials were required to do the service, that then it's all together. That's where it gets sticky. So I don't know, you know what I'm saying? In other words, if they're, if the 1099 is for them to, patch a road, and they're charging you, one invoice for the cold patch, one invoice for the service labor, then technically that's all the same cost in being able to do for that vendor. They don't really get a special leeway on not having the fact that that was charged to you as a vendor, as a payee, if you would.
Is anybody listening to this webinar? Do they break it out, or are you all just putting it on 1099? Well, I'll just keep doing it all on 1099 unless we.
Yeah, I
find a
would
different
consider that, because again, like I said, it depends on how the invoices come in and what the services, what they're saying is a service versus what really is going on.
Dickinson does on one.
Yeah, I would imagine most people just do it on one. Hey, it's a vendor, they're charging you what they're putting on that vendor, unless it's an attorney or a nurse, then who gives a rat's rear end about what it is.
Gotcha. Thanks, Missy. Thanks, George.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, that's the only time you have to really be concerned if it's an attorney, or if it's a healthcare nurse, or if you have a private nurse come in, there's a variety of things that have to get split for that. But for the most part, those are the only two occupations I think that have a significant amount of people watching the flow of funds between the two parties. So at least as far as I can tell, CPAs have a little bit of that, but not nearly as much as attorneys do. And well, everybody, thank you for attending today. I hope we had some good information for you. I'm hoping that, like I said, next time we get together, we should have a good amount of information for the newer pieces that have gone out. You will be seeing some updates coming, most likely by around the end of this month, as we're finishing up all the testing. And so again, we'll be moving forward on a lot of different platforms very quickly, and hopefully with all the extra power I have with the programmers, we'll get through a lot of things a lot faster than we had been in the past for at least a little while.
You are now working smarter with ProFund Accounting. Thanks for watching. Be sure to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more content like this.